What's going on, guys? Welcome to GCSE Psychology, the theory of reconstructive memory. So let's kick off with a nice introduction to what the theory of reconstructive memory actually is. Reconstructive memory refers to the process of actively piecing together fragments of information to recreate past experiences. It challenges the notion of memory as a passive and exact reproduction, right? So the position is that our memory isn't an exact picture. It's not a perfect recollection. In fact, it's pieced together from things that we previously know. So let's give it a little bit of historical context. So it was first introduced by Sir Frederick Bartlett in 1932, and it contrasts with earlier views like Ebbinghaus's rote memory experiments that we looked at previously. The key assumption to this is that memory is not a recording device. It's prone to distortions. Reconstruction is influenced by our personal beliefs, our cultural norms, and things like expectations. Effort after meaning. So what is effort after meaning? Effort after meaning is a process by which individuals make sense of unfamiliar or incomplete information by fitting it into existing schema, which are mental frameworks. So according to Bartlett, people strive to find meaning in their experiences, and memory is shaped by our personal and cultural narratives. So things that we know, things that we understand, we look back at our memories and we superimpose those over those memories to make them make sense to us. Let's take a quick look at Bartlett's War of the Ghosts experiment. A quick overview of the study. So the researcher was Sir Frederick Bartlett in 1932. The purpose of it was to investigate how memory is reconstructive and influenced by our own cultural and personal schema. And remember, your schema is a mental framework. The key question was, how does prior knowledge and cultural background shape the recall of unfamiliar information? So that's an important factor there, that is unfamiliar information. Methodology was quite simple. The participants were British university students who are unfamiliar with Native American culture. Now remember, this study took place in the 1930s, so it's completely different to what we know now. We've got access to things like the internet. We're pretty well versed in numerous cultures from around the world, but at that time, you didn't have such an exposed understanding of the world. The procedure: participants read a Native American folktale titled The War of the Ghosts, chosen for its unfamiliar structure and content. They were asked to recall the story multiple times. They were asked to recall it immediately after reading it, hours, days, weeks, and even months later. And this method is called serial reproduction. In some cases, participants were asked to pass on their recollection to another participant, creating a chain. This process is called repeated reproduction. So what about the story itself? The War of the Ghosts is about two young men who encounter ghosts and participate in a battle. The narrative included culturally unfamiliar elements such as supernatural beings, unfamiliar customs, and vague descriptions. And again, remember, this was during 1932. No access to anime, video games, things that we have now that familiarize us with these kind of concepts. What were the findings? Well, there were a few findings, and what Bartlett found is that people tended to do a few things with the information that they had, one of which was simplification. Participants omitted complex or unfamiliar details, leading to shorter versions of the story over time. For example, the reference to ghosts was often left out or transformed into more culturally familiar terms. Substitution. Unfamiliar concepts were replaced with familiar ones to fit the participants' cultural schema. For example, a canoe was replaced with a boat, or hunting skills became fishing. Rationalization. Participants altered the story to make it more logical or coherent by their own standards. The supernatural elements were often minimized or explained away. Distortion and confabulation. Some details were added that were not part of the original story, reflecting participants' assumptions or cultural expectations. What was the key conclusion? That memory is reconstructive. Memory is not a passive reproduction of information, but an active process of reconstruction based on existing knowledge and schema. Cultural and personal factors play a significant role in shaping what and how we remember things. The idea of effort after meaning. So what does that mean? What it means in essence is that participants actively sought to make sense of unfamiliar content by interpreting it in ways consistent with their cultural backgrounds and expectations. And the implications for this is that memory is prone to errors and distortions, particularly when the information is unfamiliar or culturally dissonant. What were the strengths and limitations of this study? Well, some of the strengths is that it highlights the role of cultural and contextual factors in memory. This study pioneered the study of schema in memory research. Limitations? Well, a lack of standardized methods for measuring recall accuracy. It was a small, homogeneous participant group limits the generalizability of the research data that was collected. Critics argue that distortions may reflect guessing rather than true reconstruction. What's the relevance to modern psychology? So this influenced research in eyewitness testimony, education, and the development of cognitive psychology. It demonstrates the interplay between memory and schema, foundational for understanding memory errors and biases. Applications of reconstructive memory. So where can reconstructive memory be applied? In education, in the legal system, and memory distortions. So in education, tailoring teaching methods to address memory reconstruction, encouraging the use of multiple perspectives to deepen understanding. In the legal system, eyewitness testimony reliability is often compromised. Importance of avoiding leading questions in legal interrogations. So of course, again, if you're being questioned about something and you're leading the questions, then it's very easy for people to start to reconstruct based off of how they feel as though they're being guided, or again, information that might be unfamiliar to them. They may recreate or reconstruct the memory to fit in to a better level of understanding in regards to their schema. Memory distortions. False memories and their implications for therapy. Example, recovered memory debates. Use of reconstructive memory in advertising and political messaging. Hopefully this gives you guys a better understanding of what reconstructive memory is, how it can be applied, and the important study, which is Bartlett's War on the Ghosts. Again, something which is going to pop up throughout you guys' GCSE psychology and potentially pop up in your paper 1 exam. So make sure you guys are familiar with the idea and the concept. Catch you guys in the next one. Peace.